Mike, if you can scroll down to the part about, well, I guess the vice mayor would be reading that, some of that. But yeah, just so we see that part. Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's 10 o'clock. Are we ready?
We are.
Okay. So call the meeting to order. Roll call.
I'm here.
Okay, Vice Mayor Nunez is here, and I'm here. Let's stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, set, go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, next on the agenda. Approval of agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I second that. So agenda has been approved. And today is June 29th, 2020. And now it is, the reason why we're meeting here is it was called to our attention that there were some items that wanted to be discussed on housing and homelessness. And so the council deferred it to the housing subcommittee. So we are here today to discuss any issues that the public would like to discuss. And so we will start with this. So on public forum, interested public members may provide comments to the subcommittee on any subject not on the agenda. Let's see, let me take this off. By submitting written comments via the city website. Comment entries will be available during the meeting. Commenters may state their name and address for the record and limit their remarks to, it depends on how many, if we have a lot, it'll be more, it'll be 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes, but if we have just a few, it'll be the 3 minutes or less, which is approximately 300 words or less, or the amount time as designated by the subcommittee. City staff will monitor the comments and read aloud the comments during the meeting of the approval of the subcommittee. This meeting will be conducted with professionalism. Profanity or vulgar language will not be read. As an unagendized item, no response is required of the subcommittee or city staff. However, the subcommittee may request staff to agendize the item for a future meeting. And also, I wanted to make a comment here. We, the council, have a code of conduct. And that code of conduct, one of the items on the code of conduct says that people need to stick to the issue and not make it personal. So with that, let's start the meeting. And business item, unhoused homelessness issues in Milpitas.
Oh, I just wanted to point out for public forum, this would be the time for comments to come in that are not comments that are not associated with the agenda item, the business item,
Okay.
and we do not have any items. I've reviewed the items that have come in and none of them are under public forum. They would all be read under the business item.
Okay,
So yes, this would be the time to go to business item.
Okay, so since there are no comments in public forum, so we will move on to business item number 5.
Okay, did either one of the committee members like to comment before I go into the items? Thank you.
Bob, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, if I may, I just wanted to add to what you said, Chair, and that is that, good morning, Chris. I think that what we're looking at doing today is collecting all ideas that the community may have with regard to what the city should be doing and looking at with regard to those that are unhoused and homeless within the city of Milpitas. I think that we have heard on numerous occasions at City Council that we need a plan. First, I want to thank the city manager for the presentation at the last City Council meeting where I, for one, got to hear for the first time all of the many different departments that were dealing with that issue, some which I wasn't aware of. What I'd like to be able to do is just make sure that we are recording. Don't know if we're transcribing, but at least recording all of the ideas that come in, and that after they all are finished, that we are able to take those, have the staff review those, come back to us. Which ones are we currently doing? Which ones are within our reach amongst our own staff? Which ones do we need partners, be they either CBOs or the county or some other partnership, things of that sort. But I have to tell you that I am just thankful that that it was the council as a whole saw that it was beneficial to come to this committee. And after last week, that we had so many departments that were actively involved in providing services already to the unhoused and homeless. And yes, we can do more. And I think that's what this is all about right now. So how many do you have right now, Steve?
It looks like we have about a dozen, and I would guess a few more will come in.
Okay. So
none of them exceed, I would say, 3 minutes.
Okay. I would like to recommend that we do the 3 minutes to allow Steve to read them, so we can get the essence and maybe all of the message. If there's 3 that will fit within our timeline.
Yeah, I would concur with that, since there's not that many, so
Okay.
Comments? City Manager?
Yes, okay, then I'll go ahead and start. I have a couple emails that came in through into the city manager's email, and then some are through the meeting system itself. Most are through the meeting system. I'm going to start with the 2 emails we have. The first one I have is from Lisa Moreno, and good morning. Hope you are all well. Jackie mentioned, this was actually sent to Councilmember Dominguez and then forwarded to me. Hoping you can pass this along as I'm unable to attend the meeting due to work. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Lisa Moreno, and I have been a resident of Milpitas since 1973. I, along with many others, are very concerned about our unhoused community in Milpitas. Myself and many others want to work with the Housing Subcommittee to develop a task force that would work alongside of all of you. We are respectfully asking for 4 to 5 individuals who are advocates of the unhoused to be on this task force. It is our mission to make a positive impact to their lives, and in doing so, the entire community will see and feel how this affects us all. It breaks my heart to see how these individuals are living and how the blue tents are spreading. We all take for granted what we have, and it's important to know that many of us are just a paycheck away from going them. To this, we need you on our team. Just imagine how it would feel to some of these individuals to one day stand in front of you and thank you for changing their lives. We thank you for your consideration and look forward to working together in the future. Lisa. Okay, the next email
Thank you.
is, Dear Housing Subcommittee members, excuse me, this is from Milpitas Parent Coalition. Okay. Dear Housing Subcommittee members, I deeply regret I'm not able to attend my daytime meetings as I have another commitment. Please accept my apologies. Please know this meeting means a lot to our members due to the 3 months of requesting City Council to agendize this during public comment. I would like to ask you all to please take a moment, close your eyes, and go on a journey with me. I would like you to clear your mind and for a moment, think about all of our homeless community. Think of our MUSD families here in Milpitas with young children living out of their cars in parks and in dangerous encampments. They are living in hazardous areas and in unhealthy conditions with nowhere else to go. Fast forward 30 days from now. The encampment was just cleaned up, and because of your commitment to stand with your constituents in solidarity, we created a task force with solutions where homeless families had priority in getting support for housing and other resources to turn their life around. Now, fast forward 10 years from now, you are sitting at a restaurant when a young man that once was the homeless teenager you helped in 2020 is thanking you for helping him and his family get out of the streets, for helping by providing a bed and a place to shower so he could continue going to school and focus on his studies. He has graduated from college, and he shares with you that he will never forget what you did for him, and he will pay it forward. This happened all because of the stand you took today. How do you feel? How do you feel knowing that it was in the moment of uncertainty that you decided to stand in your power to help our vulnerable community, and it was decisions of today that saves lives? How does that feel? Not another day, not another month, not another year can go by while we wait. We can no longer sit on the sidelines waiting to see what other cities are doing. We at the local level must rise up and take a stand for humanity. Please direct staff to work with us, create a task force with leaders from many Milpitas groups. We're ready, willing, and able to serve. Time to get off the bench and get in the game and play big. Let's do this now before it's too late for the homeless child waiting for your help. I urge you to act now. Thank you, Jackie Romero, co-founder. Okay, no other emails. So now onto the list. And I believe we do have probably about 12 more, and they all look reasonably within 3 minutes. Okay, this item is from Chetan Popat. Hi, council members. I'm a resident of Milpitas since past 12 years and living in the community across from the open land on Thompson Court. In the past, the usage of the land as a potential site for homeless shelter has come up. However, there has been no engagement with the community, nor homeless is there and now. The best way to solve the issue is to leverage the unused hotel rooms so we can get the homeless off the streets and give income to the hotel in this tough economic environment. I would like to request you to take immediate action by leveraging the hotel rooms and not add stress to us in an already stressful time by adding the open land on Thompson Court as a potential option. Thank you, Chetan. This comment is from Chimme Moharir. I am a resident of Milpitas since past 12 years and living in the community across from the open land on Thompson Court. In the past, the usage of the land as a potential site for homeless shelter has come up. However, there has been no engagement with the community, nor have we done a complete feasibility analysis of the impact this may have on nearby communities and businesses. The problem of homelessness is here and now. The best way to solve the issue is to leverage the unused hotel rooms so we can get the homeless off the streets and give income to the hotel owners in the tough economic environment. I would like to request you to take immediate action by leveraging the hotel rooms and not add stress to us in an already stressful time by adding that open land on Thompson Court as a potential option. Thanks, Chinmay. This comment is from Vikram Krishnamurthy. I am a resident of Milpitas since 2014. I want to mention that there has been no community engagement regarding the issue of homeless shelter across Thompson Court. In addition to that, I have not seen any analysis on feasibility of this land, nor any mention of impact on community that are adjacent to it. In the past, the proposal was built on incorrect assumptions. The proposal assumed that this is separated by a concrete wall for neighboring activity. This is not true, and there is direct access to Thompson Court and Tom Evatt Park. Both of these have a non-trivial pedestrian traffic with children. Adding construction will only add more risk and does not help with social distancing. There are other ways to house our homeless folks temporarily. For example, utilize hotels, motels in Milpitas, which are empty already due to coronavirus, and or utilizing a section of infrastructure such as public libraries, public schools to set up temporary tents as they are closed for foreseeable future. I look at the council to make sure like this are not rushed in the times of pandemic. Thank you, Vikram. This comment is from Fanny Kandrulula. I'm a resident of Milpitas and living in the community across from the open land on Thompson Court. In the past, the usage of the land as a potential site for homeless shelter has come up. However, there has been no engagement with the community, nor have we done a complete feasibility analysis of the impact this may have on nearby communities and businesses. The problem of homelessness is here and now. The best way to solve this issue is to leverage the unused hotel rooms so we can get the homeless off the streets and give income to the hotel owners in this tough economic environment. I would like to request you to take immediate action by leveraging the hotel rooms and not add stress to us in an already stressful time by adding the open land on Thompson Court as a potential option. This comment is from Namrata Popat. Hi, I am writing about the special meeting on unhoused population scheduled for June 29th. I live in the community right across from the open land on Thompson Court. The land has been brought up by Sup Cortese and for a potential homeless shelter site. It's very tempting to use the land with temp housing to immediately help the homeless. However, it's a bad idea for many reasons. One, the homeless need help now. Why not use the unused hotel rooms in Milpitas to help them? Two, San Jose tried it and failed. They put some trailers in an open piece of land and it had to shut down within 30 days after spending millions. The trailers were faulty and the city underestimated the cost of maintaining the site. In tough economic times like these, let's not add another cost item to our budget. Three, the surrounding community and businesses have not been engaged. They also have a say in it. The children's park is right across from the open land. Who is taking into account the impact on children? Let's think about this holistically before taking action. Let's use the hotel rooms to help the homeless and get tax revenue for the city. Thanks, Amrata. Next comment is from Yoli Garcia, 864 Founders Lane. I would like to see a housing subcommittee task force created with leaders of Milpitas groups and local businesses to address and find a solution to our unhoused and homeless issues in Milpitas. It is also very important to me that the housing subcommittee and task force include our school district homeless students and families. We have only a few MUSD staff managing several hundred students and families in need of transitional housing. I understand that a big focus should be on street encampments, but we should also be aware of many who are living in cars, RVs, couch surfing, and literally families piled into a small apartment to survive. Please remember that you are not alone in this. Our community is willing to help. We just need a plan and direction to get this done. We're looking to your subcommittee for that. Thank you for your continued support of our Milpitas community. There was another comment that looks the same from Yoli Garcia. Next comment is from Chris Rios, 1775 Millmont Drive. Milpitas is in desperate need of rent forgiveness and greater rent relief as it relates to the ongoing global pandemic. The best way to do that is to follow the guidelines set by some cities in New York, which are opting to completely forgive people's rent and asking landlords that are experiencing hardship or that would experience hardship to apply for relief. This model is imperative if we are to prevent unmitigated homelessness within the Bay Area, and namely Milpitas. We are putting far too much strain on our neighboring cities within Santa Clara County, as many of our residents are receiving homeless and financial aid in neighboring cities. That's not acceptable. Milpitas can and should do better for its residents. We should not have to rely on the good graces of county council, which has done far more in the midst of this pandemic than has Milpitas City Council. The failure to act during this time has shined a light on the City Council, and we can be certain that residents will be voting very differently come November this year and next. This next comment is from Bertha Rios, 440 Dixon Landing Road. The eviction moratorium is the only thing that is saving the lives of many Milpitas residents, and it's thanks to the fast acting initiatives of Gavin Newsom and the Santa Clara County Council. Unfortunately, Milpitas City Council was too weak and too fickle to be able to enact even a simple moratorium on evictions. It's unfortunately that we lack crucial leadership in our own city of Milpitas at this time. This pandemic has not created more problems. It has simply exposed the problems that already existed. I don't understand why there is so little being done to save the lives of human beings, of residents of our great city, when we can do so much better. We need to extend this eviction moratorium in order to prevent a flood of homelessness in Milpitas. The best way to save lives is to extend this eviction moratorium to protect residents that could be exposed to COVID-19 and could in turn infect the people and worsen the spread. Put people first and extend this eviction moratorium. More than that, residents need rent relief. Next comment is from Maria Cardeva, Terra Serena Community. Hello, Milpitas Council members. We have been Milpitas residents and taxpayers since 2004, with past 12 years living in Terra Serena Community across from the open land on Thompson Court. We understand this land plot is under consideration for potentially housing homeless county residents. While we support the efforts to address current COVID-driven needs of unhoused county residents, we believe there must be a longer-term review and analysis of usability of this plot for homeless housing. Key questions include: 1, analysis of current recommendations, e.g., to create community of tiny homes with on-site services and associated health and safety measures and limitations. 2, review of costs related to proposed housing options. For example, recent news uncovered that the San Jose spent $1.3 million on trailers for homeless. The site was shut down within a month, and it was not suitable for elderly residents and had continued maintenance problems. And then there's a web link to the Mercury News article 2020-06-16. San Jose spent $1.3 million on trailers for homeless. A month later, the site was shut down. 3, access to infrastructure in nearby area to support a homeless population, e.g., transportation, food banks, medical facilities, social services, etc. 4, safely and securely implications for residents of nearby communities, schools, childcare facilities. 5, traffic and parking implications for the Thompson Court, Thompson Street, and Mikado Avenue. Meanwhile, the Santa Clara County and City of Milpitas can leverage the unused hotel rooms to help both the unhoused residents and hotel businesses in a difficult economic environment. We strongly urge the Milpitas Council and the Housing Subcommittee in particular to utilize available hotel capacity and not include the Thompson Court land parcel as a potential option. Best regards, Maria Cardeva and Arthur Wong. Next comment is from Martin Rios, 1775 Millmont Drive. It's unacceptable that our city council believes that this is not a democracy. That was in quotes. Those were the words of Carmen Montano. That's unacceptable. You are beholden to a higher standard, and you need to hear the grievance of your constituents. Milpitas residents are suffering. People are being evicted due to COVID-19. It's unacceptable that some city council members think that they are somehow above the law, above democracy, and still somehow think that it's acceptable to sue people over comments that they don't like. That's a disgrace. The next comment is from Allison McDonald. Comment: but 89% of the homeless in the region are interested in permanent housing. In Silicon Valley, 62% were homeless simply because they can't afford the rent. Homelessness grows as more renters are priced out. Services for those with mental health or addiction problems are inadequate, and employers fail to pay a living wage. Next comment is, it doesn't have a name, but it does have a name in the comment. My name is Tina X, and I'm a Milpitas resident. I am writing to urge our city to help the unhoused community. We need new plans and solutions. Please work with County Supervisor Dave Cortese to create a permanent solution. Thank you. The next comment is from Urvish Mehta. To Milpitas, oh, there's a PO box 362116, Milpitas. To Milpitas City Council and staff members, Milpitas City is a diversified community and has an opportunity to do better for homeless people. It is important that the homeless issues be addressed and provide a facility for homeless people to shelter, provide necessary living needs. Food and education would be helpful. For homeless people to provide shelter, zone be decided where facility can be built. The facilities should be like residential facility. Example of such is San Jose Hope facility inaugurated by Governor Gavin Newsom. For temporary purposes, the homeless people could be sheltered in hotels. Your consideration to this matter is appreciated. Thanks, Urvish Mehta. I'm going to take a look at emails to be sure that we didn't have any further comments come in. No, that completes all the comments received.
Okay, thank you very much. So Vice Mayor, from what I've been hearing is there are 3 items: rent hardship and eviction moratorium, and also the Thompson land, the vacant land. I think we should go over the Thompson vacant land first. I heard some great ideas about using our hotels or motels that are not being utilized right now. Maybe look into that. Do you have any thoughts on that, Vice Mayor?
Well, I'd ask the city manager first if, because that idea has been around for a while. I know that the county, or at least I understood the county has, I don't know, it has some type of an agreement with some of the hotel owners on rooms. That's what I've heard. So have you had staff look into that issue at all yet?
Yeah, I think our response as staff is looking into that issue, and that is correct. The county does currently have a program where homeless are being placed in certain hotels. They are held confidential for the privacy of the residents.
Right, I have heard of that, and I think that's where the callers that called in have seen that it is a successful program to house the unhoused. So yeah, I'm glad that the staff is looking into that.
Madam Chair?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick. So I want to be able to make sure we're looking at the right. There's 2 things I've heard. One is that the county was looking at motel rooms for those that were houseless or homeless in the event that they were identified as testing positive for COVID. That's what I did hear. And then also I'd heard that they were also looking for placement as transitional housing. So it's 2 distinct things. So I just want to make sure that that as we're looking into that, what is it that the county's really doing, and so that we have the most up-to-date information. And I think it is something that is important for us to look at, because there are probably still a number of unused rooms. But I don't think that's going to change anytime in the near future. But I also want to make sure that what we're doing is not misstating the facts as to what the county is, their program really is. I think we continue to have staff look at that, but get back to us as soon as possible, whatever that is.
I agree that's a really good indication that our homeless need to be. You mentioned about COVID, so maybe perhaps staff can look at these 2 elements of how the COVID and then the non-COVID. Not sure how the county is doing that, but yeah, I totally agree with that. So, staff, do you know more or less when, what stage that you said that they were looking into it? At what stage are they at this moment? I mean, like halfway there.
I couldn't really tell you exactly.
Okay, all right, but they are looking into it. Okay, that's great to hear. And maybe when we come back in August, we can have something, more information on that. Then the other thing that came up was the rent hardship. Now I know we were discussing about reducing the rent relief program to, instead of 5,000 to 3,600. And we did get some calls in that people wanted to stay at 5K. Any thoughts on that, Vice Mayor? Do you feel that we should stick to the 5,000 or the 35 or 3,600? And the reason why we went with the 36 is so that way we could help more people, because we ran out of funds. And that's why we were saying, well, in order to help more people, to reduce the housing relief program to 36K. So 3,600. So that's why I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on that? Is this the time to discuss that, or should we bring it back to council and should we make a recommendation to the full council? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I do. Yeah. Well, I do think ultimately we'll be coming back to the council on that issue, but maybe I see that a little bit differently, only in that rent forgiveness is simply, to me anyway, is simply saying that there needs to be a different way of looking at the payback of past due rent that's been forgiven, and maybe looking forward as to how long are we going to be in the shelter in place, especially now that we're looking at extending that. And actually, did I hear right, Steve, that Santa Clara was one of the counties where they've the state has asked us to step back some of the things that the county is, like they did in Los Angeles and Riverside counties. Step back the opening. They asked us to the opening of bars and those things. Was Santa Clara included?
They put it in, they recommended, not, they didn't impose for our county.
Okay. So I think we're going to be in this longer than persons thought. So with that, and maybe Chris, you and Steve, I sent you an article that dealt with a bill that was going to extend the rent forgiveness, I thought, up until December, and I thought it passed the Assembly already, and it might have been the Senate, but I thought it was the Assembly. It was going to the other house. Do you know the status of that?
No, I mean, I just received that this weekend as well, so
okay.
Take a look at that.
Okay, so I think it's going to take, for us, it comes down to money. We need to take a look at the additional dollars that are coming from CDBG and earmark it for this area if that's what we want to do, and take it back to the council as a whole. We need to make sure that we are strongly supporting that bill with regard to the extension all the way through the end of December, or really till the end of the shelter at home. I think what we need to do is also take a look at other groups and other cities that are working on that, so it's not just our sole voice behind it. I think it's a plan that would allow us to say that we are working towards persons that, because of COVID, cannot pay the rent because they're not working, their hours have been cut, things of that sort. And so, Steve, I would ask, is there a county-wide group that does that? I don't know if that's cities or this housing coalition, things of that sort that we could become a stronger voice in.
I think, again, I don't think I could totally answer that. It's just something we can look at and report back to you on.
Okay, and that's what I'm looking at. I think that a long-range plan to say that we need to make sure that we don't come back and visit this every month is something that really we're in it for the length of the confinement, and with that, we need enough voices to make ourselves heard, and not just one city, both in Sacramento and at the county. That's what I would suggest, that we get the information, Chair, and then become part of a very vocal part of one of these groups, and then look at earmarking dollars for the rent forgiveness, because if you look at where we put a majority of our dollars, that's where it's been from CDBG.
So let me clarify. So some clarification, Vice Mayor. When you say rent relief, you mean rent? Are you saying that they won't pay the rent, or I'm not? Is there a round table a group that is already addressing that in the county, and are you asking that we be part of that? We be part of that group?
Well, I'm asking the city manager to come back and find out. I know there's So is it the housing one that some of the staff went to some of their events?
Silicon
SB
Valley.
housing?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's the one. And
That's one of them. But I know that
Right.
there's at least five, I think, that they're advocates for both those persons that are housed and unhoused, but they're also advocates for housing as a whole. I don't profess to know them all, Steve.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking that staff could find the ones that would allow us to have a larger voice. Therefore, we would be able to get on the front end as opposed to always being dragged there, is all. At least that's the way, if I'm going to be part of trying to create a solution, I'd rather be part of the conversation than always being just added on at the end, is all. So if you know of 2 or 3 groups, or we need to go look for them, I think we need to, because those are the ones that usually have advanced information, or are the ones meeting with assembly persons or state senators, helping to forge those laws and trying to get the votes. And I know, Chris, that you have a very active, now I know you have a very active team up in Sacramento in putting those laws together. And I think I think we need to utilize that to make sure that Milpitas's voice is heard there, so that we either are at the front end getting the dollars that go with those bills, and or making sure that the voices of the citizens of Milpitas are heard at the start of the formulation of these kinds of bills when it deals with the unhoused and the homeless.
so, yeah, I agree. So staff, Steve, if you can have the staff look into that. So find out which organizations, maybe we can create a roundtable. The city can initiate that and reach out to these groups and have a discussion going of how we can help, how we can all pull our resources and combat this issue. So, Steve, what are your thoughts on that?
That would be something you might want to recommend if you have recommendations to the council for something bigger than the items that you're reviewing in these comments. That's something that your subcommittee can forward to the council.
Yeah, I think we should have staff do, instead of working one-on-one with different organizations, maybe do a meeting of the minds, if you will, so that way brainstorm how we can be part of that coalition, homeless coalition type.
I think that the overall topic, I think we've got the direction.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and let staff do their work. That's what they're best at. And they can come back and report back to us on that.
Okay, that'd be
I
great.
do want to mention to you, just before, as you're going through your comments here, is that we did receive a few more. So at any time, if you'd like me to read those, I'll be happy to.
Okay, yeah, you can read them now.
Okay. This comment came in from Stacy Probst, 180 Lone Tree. Please support transitional housing for people homeless in Milpitas. Simply kicking them out to clean the area does nothing except take belongings from them. We need to help them find housing. We need social workers to help them get jobs, addiction help, permanent housing, etc. Hey, these people are part of Milpitas and need our help.
Could you
Thank
tell me
you.
who that come from, Steve?
Stacy Probst. This next comment is from a repeat person. Oh, looks like I have. The reason I'm looking carefully is I have 2 repeats.
Okay.
And There's another one. Okay, this comment is from Yutong Lee, 1758 Hazelnut Lane, Milpitas. My name is Yutong. I have been living in Milpitas close to Great Mall for almost 2 years. I understand the importance of setting unhoused community. However, Great Mall and the BART station area is located at the middle of the city, and the impact to local residents in both city of Milpitas is very high. We should not allow the shelter to be built around this area, thus the space next to Piercy Honda dealership is not an ideal location. We should figure out new solutions which can fundamentally solve the long-term issue, not a temporary solution falling onto only the short term at the cost of compromising the city attraction and local communities.
Thank you.
I've got a question for the city attorney. I have another comment from Allison McDonald that says she accidentally submitted the wrong comment earlier, which I've already read. I already read the wrong comment.
Are they entirely different, or they're just one word or two words changed?
Oh, no, this is a long no, this is a huge comment. This is the longest comment we've received. I'd probably ask somebody to time it if I did read it.
I'll leave it to the discretion of the chair whether you want to take a second comment from the same individual.
Well, it's not really fair for the other people that have done have submitted another one. I don't know if they knew this, or they know this, but you can only submit one comment. So I'm going to stick with our policy that we have. What she can do is have someone else make that comment for her that has not spoken yet. But we do have a comment, one comment per person. So if she would like to do that, that would be great. If she could have someone else make that comment.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is that it?
That
Steve?
is it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we've gone over I keep getting comments from the Thompson land by
Well,
Pierce Toyota.
I'm sorry. I just received another one. I'm not sure how
Okay.
you want me. Maybe if you want to check in before you're done, because these could keep coming in.
Oh, okay. So no, you can, after I make my comment, on the Piercy land, Thompson land, I thought that correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that Dave Cortese decided not to move forward with that, building a housing, I forgot what it was called. What was the term that they had? Emergency housing. They had a term that I can't remember what it was, but I thought that he had scrapped it because of the opposition from the community, and now they're looking for some other alternate place. So do you know anything about that? So that way we can let the residents know that
Yes.
it's not moving forward, I don't think, because that is a potential business site. So do you know anything, Steve?
I do. So what's happened is he did ask, that did come up as a proposal. And then after responding to the community and the city of Milpitas, he asked for county staff to work with city staff to find an alternate site. And that is indeed what we're doing today. So I wouldn't say that it's taken off the table. It's that he opened it up for discussion for an alternate in what we might view as a better site for the city of Milpitas. And that's what we're doing.
Okay, great. So the folks that called in about that issue, you heard it straight from our city manager that site is no longer on the table, but the county is looking for an alternate site. So just to let you know, I'm glad you clarified that, and I'm glad that they know now. Would you like to read the other person that called in?
Certainly.
Or make the comment?
Yes. So we have a comment from Jesse P. Milpitas Parent Coalition is ready and able to advocate to move this item forward. Our city takes too long to move items forward.
Well, which item?
Yeah, that's all it says. I have another comment from I. Rivera. We need open dialogue with city staff to move this forward using only comments. This forward using only comments doesn't work. And that completes the comments received.
Okay, so the other one was, so for those folks that don't know, we have a housing subcommittee that has developed a program called the Rent Relief Program. And what we're doing, people that are facing hardship or emergency inability to pay their rent, we do have a rent relief program. And that's going to be going. However, we did run out of money and we were able to use some of the CDBG Community Development Block Grants to supplement that. And now that there has been rises in the COVID, we're going to have to start looking for other forms of funding and maybe come up with some ideas how we can come up with that. We do have an economic development corporation, and we're thinking, the housing subcommittee members are thinking about using that to try to access some funds from corporations and the government, the county, the federal government, so we can start implementing some of these programs that would give some relief to people that are having facing a hardship. The other thing that came up is the eviction moratorium. That came up because I think I think we did pass a ordinance that the landlords could not raise the rent to anyone during this COVID crisis. So I'm going to ask our city attorney, is that correct? Is that, we were supposed to pass that, right? And did that, what is the status on that?
So thank you, Chair Montano. Yes, so the city itself didn't adopt an eviction moratorium, but the county did. And the county's moratorium does extend out to all the cities. And so at this point, we do have the eviction moratorium in place that the county has set out that we are included within. That runs to July 28th. But that's kind of the current status of where we are. And then obviously we have the rent relief program, which is something you have been working on along with the vice mayor in terms of providing funding for those that are in need in terms of rent relief.
Okay, so the folks that called in about the eviction moratorium, so right now, no one can be evicted from their residence until after July 28th. That's July 28th, that's in another month.
Correct.
The end of the month.
Correct.
And so was it June 28th or was it always July 28th?
So the county's moratorium, it coincides with the governor's extension of what he put into place back when the emergency situation started. So what the governor did is he put some provisions within state law exempting certain provisions within the Costa-Hawkins Act, as well as another area of law that applies to business leases, basically clearing the way, so to speak, in terms of the law through July 28th, which is what his order extends to, but basically clearing the way for cities and counties, if they wanted to adopt an eviction moratorium, that they could do so without any concern about any kind of preemption issues under state law. So the governor kind of, I would say, put two things into the law through his executive orders, which allowed cities and counties to do what they're doing with regard to eviction moratoriums. Now, the governor's provision within his executive order expires July 28th, which is the same date that the county has set out for their eviction moratorium to expire. And that's important because if we as a city, or let's say the county, wants to extend their eviction moratorium past that July 28th date, there's going to be some sort of legal uncertainty as to what an eviction moratorium can actually govern. The governor, by his executive order, basically cleared the way for cities and counties to expand kind of the properties that could be governed by an eviction moratorium. But Costa-Hawkins Act is still the law of the land. And once the governor's executive order on July 28th gets lifted, if further eviction moratoriums are extended or adopted, it's going to have to exempt, in my opinion, all the properties that are governed by the Costa-Hawkins Act. Now, I haven't gotten to the actual list of what those properties would include, but it would be a good number of properties that basically could not legally be included in an eviction moratorium after the governor's executive order expires.
So So what you're saying is that the owners or the landlords can turn around and sue us, sue the city for not, or for going against or after the July. If we want to do an eviction moratorium, are you saying that right now we're protected because of the executive order from the governor, but after that, if we want to do one, we're putting ourselves at risk?
In a sense, I think we'd have to be very careful as to what properties are governed by the eviction moratorium so that we don't run afoul or run inconsistent with the Costa-Hawkins Act. Now, the governor could extend out his executive order a further timeline, and that would give us obviously a further timeline to then look at an eviction moratorium. But if he doesn't do that, then yes, we'd have to be very careful as to how we craft any kind of moratorium, and it would have to exempt a large number of properties.
Right. So it would behoove folks to advocate to the governor, the state, because they're the ones that have the power to do that without being sued. Yeah. So if we can continue looking at that, and at least now folks are aware of what are some of the ramifications on that. Because even for myself, it's just makes me want to really research that, because I do not want to put the city at risk of any lawsuit, because especially now, since our revenue stream is kind of running dry. So let's move on. Do you have any thoughts on this, Vice Mayor?
Yes, I do. I just had to make sure I wasn't muting myself. A couple of things. One is, did you, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, did you send us something about that some time ago, Council?
Probably not completely on this issue. There might have been something that kind of touched on the issue lightly, but not specifically, I think, on the eviction moratorium. And if you, as a council, wanted to look at extending that out.
Okay. So I was just wondering if that, so you don't have to answer this right away. These kind of questions I know you like to think about. But answering this one in a manner that we could then post it so the persons understand the position, the community understands the position. So think about that, because this is a question that will come up over and over again. And I think it, because I know you have mentioned that to us before, I just can't remember the setting. You've mentioned that to us as a council, I just can't remember the setting. And I'd rather have, none of the five of us are attorneys. And so I don't want to have to try to explain that. I'd rather it come from you. And if you think there's a way to do that in a way that can be posted for the residents, I'd like that. Thank you for that, City Manager. I saw that. So maybe just real quick, I do have a comment, but I'm gonna, I see we have about 6 minutes left. And you have 2 more comments. Was it 2 more comments you had just come in?
That's correct. 2 more since we last spoke.
Okay, so if I could hold my comment until after he reads those 2, because I want to make sure they get in, and then I'll make my comment.
Sure.
Okay, one is longer and one is shorter. I'm going to read the shorter one, and then we're going to time the longer one because it could go past 3 minutes. So the shorter one is from Sherry Shu at 823 Claridad Loop, Milpitas. To whom may concern, I'm a resident in Milpitas and I live close to Great Mall for almost 3 years. I have deep concern regarding building the shelter next to Honda due to the fact that the communities nearby have already been occupied by a lot of homes and a city correction facility with families and children. The place isn't an ideal location and the cost to build up a shelter from zero will be very high. Also, the BART station nearby adds extra burden.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next one, Rochelle is going to help me with the timing. I'll just ask Rochelle to let me know when to start. Okay, she says now. This item is from Douglas Bell. Dear Vice Mayor Nunez and Councilmember Montano, thank you for considering unhoused homeless issues today. The growing homeless population in Milpitas needs our help. The city is spending more and more on police contacts with the houseless and on cleaning up encampments. These folks have nowhere to go in Milpitas. We need 5 things to happen to protect both our houseless residents and our housed residents. Having residents who live unsheltered or in encampments is unhealthy and unsafe for all of us. Rather than spending money on sworn officers to interact with the unhoused, they estimate 1,000 contacts this year. While our officers are offering assistance and resources, it should be the job of staff who are trained for this job, leaving our sworn officers to do their own work. It is not only a waste of their time and our money, but also puts off those who could be assisted, but who have an understandable wariness of the police, whose usual role is law enforcement. There's no place for local residents to go when they find themselves unhoused. The police are providing bus tokens basically to ship our houseless population to San Jose. This is not just a transportation problem. Our local houseless population is here because this is their home. They may have jobs, friends, family, or kids in school here, but there is no place for them to stay until they are back on their feet. No place to stay until they receive all services they need. Through local charity and sometimes government assistance, we are able to get some folks, usually families, into a hotel, but most have nowhere to go. We need to consistently be able to provide a roof over people's heads in our own community. This would be some sort of temporary shelter with services to assist people to get into permanent housing. We know that 89% of the homeless in this region are interested in permanent housing. Milpitas has one low-income housing site, Sunny Hills Apartments, which is not guaranteed to be affordable in the long term. The landlord's contract with HUD needs to be renewed every 5 years, and we know he finds it too expensive to continue doing so without our assistance. It hurts his bottom line. We keep investing there in homes that we will keep renewing the contract. What happens to the investment when he decides not to? We have approved a new low-income project on the other side of town on Sango Court, which will house about 100 people, some of them previously houseless. This is clearly inadequate. We need to create more housing with guaranteed long-term affordability, perhaps through setting up a land trust. In Silicon Valley, 62% were homeless simply because they can't afford the rent. Homelessness grows as more renters are priced out. We can't afford to house everyone who can't afford to keep up with this market.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, that's 3 minutes.
So I just wanted to touch base for that last person that made the comment. The city is creating some affordable housing, 102 units at the Sango Court. And then I think overall we have about 200 affordable units with apartments and condos in the Taft area. So we're working on it, and I appreciate the last person's comments. Okay, and I think the Vice Mayor had some comments as well.
Yes, excuse me, thank you. And listening to everyone, and there were many suggestions I think we really can follow up on. Excuse me. And that we need to follow up on. I would take us back, if I could, to the last statement that was made and to Stacy's comment that was made, where she talked about looking at transitional housing and services. Simply finding housing is only dealing with one small aspect. It really is a kind of type of housing you look for, the services that go along with that housing. And so that's one of the reasons I believe we talked about and looked at and are going to bring back a social services department within the city. I think we need to take a look at how do we provide those services, who provides those services, housing, mental health, all those things. And I know Yoli Garcia mentioned doing that with the MUSD, and I think we need to include them as a true partner because they deal with families and that are students, parents, and for us, they're the residents, but they're all still all the same. And so I just think it's a much bigger issue. And the one area we didn't touch on, and I know that we have a hard stop at 11.
Yeah, because Chris has to leave at 11.
Yep, that the task force, and we call them, we have called them, I've heard us call them commissions. And so I want to be able to work on that because I do think we need some community input as we go along. So I do want to take a look at what that would look like going forward, how we would, I don't know if there's one in existence that we have, Steve, that you think this fits under, or we create one that somehow reports back to us. I don't know about that. So did we lose Chris already?
Chris, are you there?
We may have. He did have a hard stop at 11, and it is
Okay.
after 11.
Okay, so
We even have comments coming in, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, no more
But-
comments. That's it.
yeah, so if you could just continue to add those though, because I do want to make sure that we got us as committee members get to see all of them. But I am interested in how we would do that, Steve, under our format, and I'll look to you for that. So I appreciate the fact, Chair, that you pushed to make sure we had this meeting. It will not be, I know that we will meet again quickly once we get the information, because it is an issue that I believe you could find more persons that become homeless or houseless every day because of what's going on. So I will be quiet, and I know that as long as we continue to take input, and do we have persons direct that to you, Steve, so we have one contact point? Or how do you want persons to send in information? To where? To who?
I think now what I would do is probably direct them through our website, through our housing division for those items. I don't really need to be the middleman for these. They can go
Okay.
directly to housing.
Okay, and then they will disperse them out to the chairperson and myself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this just to recap, the staff is looking into the housing for the hotel, motel, to use that transitional housing. Chris is looking into the eviction moratorium, and you're going those comments from the public, and the vice mayor and myself will be going through some of those comments, and we're going to try to put some meat on those to get this thing going and create that those persons that want to help with to help our homeless population. So with that, thank you everyone, public, for turning in your comments, and we really appreciate, and we're going to do everything in our power to try to help the homeless in our city. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.